This video is sponsored by Creo. Creo is a project-based learning platform for you to learn new software development skills and land top development jobs. More on this later in the video. Yo, what's going on guys? Tanmay here for Simple Snippets and welcome back to another video tutorial on data structures and algorithms. And I know it's been quite a long time since I uploaded the last video, which was on graph data structure. But now let's take on with that and continue with the graph data structure. And now we are moving on to the very important part of graph data structure, which is the implementation part. So far we've understood the theory, we've understood what a graph is, how it looks like, how it is different from other graph data structures, the ways in which graph data structure is implemented, that is the adjacency matrix, the adjacency list. We've seen all the different graph terms. So if you are new on this channel and if you haven't seen that, you can check out this DSA playlist. We've covered quite a lot of theory, but the more important part is the practical side. So this is something that a lot of beginners don't focus on, and many times this part is skipped and not given importance. But in our DSA course, we focus not only on the theory but also on the practical. So before we proceed, two important points that you guys need to understand and keep in mind is point number one, please focus on the practical aspect much more seriously. And if you're watching this video, watch it in one full stretch from start to end, without any distractions. So keep your cell phones aside. If you're watching it on a cell phone, use earphones. It would be better if you're watching it on a PC, because at the end of this video we will also start with the coding, because of course it is an implementation. When I say implementation, it means the practical aspect, it means the coding aspect. So if you're watching it on a PC, it would be much better. And the next point that I want to say is that you have to keep in mind is the implementation differs from different sources, right? So the method that we are going to use might not be the same that you've seen online or that you see from your professor or from someone else. So graph, as I mentioned, can be implemented in many different ways. Similarly, many other data structures have multiple different ways of implementing, that is different styles of code, different practical approaches, right? So it might occur that the code that we write might not match the code that you already have seen somewhere, but our focus is going to be in such a way that we are able to code all the basic graph applications or graph operations. You can see it on the side. And I want to cover all the basics when it comes to practical implementation. So I have not really seen a code online where we have all the different operations. Generally, I've seen a static code with static number of vertices, static number of edges. You can't really make any changes to them. But our approach is that we want a full menu-driven program where user can enter the number of vertices, can add and delete vertices, can add and delete edges, etc. etc. So there's going to be a lot in this video as well as the upcoming few videos, because we will divide them in parts. So I request you guys to follow along these videos in one go in a proper consecutive way, so you can check out this playlist. Okay, so this was the two important key points. I know a lot of introduction. Let's get on with today's video. In today's video, we will understand the graph implementation from our side, that is how we want our graph. So on the left hand side, you can see I have mentioned 2 points. So our graph would represent a network of connected cities. So over here the visual representation is given. So basically each vertex is nothing but a state. It's not cities, it's state. These are Indian states. And the edges, basically you can consider them as roadways or airways. Let's consider them roadways. So from Delhi to Maharashtra, it is approximately 1300 kilometers and so on and so forth. So the next point to remember is that our graph is undirected, which means if you can go from Delhi to Maharashtra, you can also come back via the same route. It's bidirectional in nature, and it is also weighted, which means that each edge carries a proper weight. So this weight is in the form of kilometers. Alright, so this is our graph implementation, and as I mentioned, there can be many other ways or other types of graphs or other use cases. You can have a graph of a social media network, wherein these vertices are people, right? And then the connection is happening based on whether you are friends with other people or not. You can have a graph of connected cities via air routes and so on and so forth. So there are many other use cases. So we are taking this for our understanding purpose. Alright. The next thing is, what are the different type of operations that we want to implement? So once we go through the entire understanding of our graph requirements, at the end of this video, we will also go to the C++ IDE and start with the basic structure of our program. So make sure you watch this video till the end, don't skip any part. We will start off with creating the basic boilerplate, which means the basic structure and basic classes and whatnot. And the operations that we are gonna cover, we will cover them in the further videos one by one. So what are the different operations? So basic operations are addition of vertex, which means you want to add a new state. You want to update vertex, which means you want to update the state name. So let's say you entered a wrong state name and you want to correct it. You should be able to update it. So every state will have its unique code. So we'll give a ID. So ID will be like the unique ID or unique code for every vertex, right? So you can address them and you can search a particular vertex using this ID. The third thing is you can delete a particular state from the graph. Okay, so add, update, delete of a particular vertex, basically a particular state. Then we also have add, update and deletion of edges. So similar to vertices, you are able to delete the links between the multiple states, multiple vertices. Even that is going to be possible. We are going to write separate code for all these different operations. The next thing is you want to get all neighbors of a particular vertex. So let's say in the case of Delhi, if you want to know which are the connected states to Delhi, so the edges will tell us which are connected, right? So for Delhi, we have Maharashtra, we have Goa and Uttar Pradesh. These are the three neighbors of Delhi. Odisha is not connected directly to Delhi, so it's not a neighbor. So when you say get all neighbors, so this operation will get a particular list of states that are connected to a particular state. Okay. So moving ahead, we have check if two vertices are connected or neighbors. So again, if you want to check whether Delhi and Maharashtra is connected, you have to check whether there is a link or not. So Delhi and Odisha is not connected because there is no link, correct? But Delhi and Maharashtra is connected because there is a link. That is, there is an edge between the two. So this is something that we'll have to write a separate function to check. Then we also have to search a particular vertex, that is searching a particular state. We will do the searching based on the ID and we'll see that. And lastly, we also want to print the full graph. So we want to print the graph on a command prompt because we are going to write a C++ program and we will execute it, and the execution output is shown in a command prompt, right? So we want to see the different vertices, that is the different states, and its connected vertices, and that is the edges, which means which all other states a particular state is connected. So that will be shown in print full graph. So you can see there are 10 functions and probably there will be more as we progress. This is just the list of the basic operations and there's quite a lot to cover. So we will cover them one by one in further videos as well. Right now we just need to understand our approach and the implementation. Now, before I show you the logical view of this visual representation, so this is just the visual representation, but how will it look like in a computer program, in the computer memory, right? In the form of objects and classes. That is something that we also have to understand. So before I show that, we need to understand that we are going to use multiple data structures to implement graph data structure. So what does that mean? So we are going to take the help of standard template library. Now the standard template library is nothing but a set of C++ template classes which are pre-written and which are provided to us so that we can directly use them. Now at the point of recording this video, I do not have separate video tutorials or separate series on STL, that is standard template library, and I have got quite a lot of requests. So maybe in future, if you're watching this video in future, there might be a separate playlist. But for a very basic understanding, STL is nothing but a pre-written library, which means it is pre-written code which has a lot of data structures and their functions which are pre-written. For example, list, stack, arrays, etc. The code for all these data structures are pre-written and we will directly use them. Okay, so that is what standard template library is. So why do we need it? So in order to implement graph data structure, we are going to take the help of two other data structures. So one is vector and the second one is list. So vector is nothing but a dynamic array. So we know the basic array in C++ is essentially static in nature. So when I say static, it means that once the size is given, it's fixed, right? And it has to be given at compile time. So if you give the size of array as 5, if you want to add an extra element in the array, you have to recreate that array. And if you're using less elements, even then the memory for 5 elements will be wasted, right? But if you want the array to be dynamic, this is where vectors can be used. So vectors are nothing but dynamic arrays, which means they have the ability to resize themselves automatically when an element is inserted or deleted. So for the sake of this video, you don't need to get into the depth of these individual STL data structures, that is STL containers. They are usually called containers or templates. You don't have to understand them. You just have to understand them at a very overview level, not in depth, because we are directly going to use them. Okay. But vectors, I hope vector is clear. It is just a dynamic array, which means that the size can grow and shrink at runtime depending upon our programming. Then there is list. So list is nothing but sequence containers that allow non-contiguous memory allocations. So list, if you have to compare it, it is exactly like a doubly linked list. Now for those who have already seen the doubly linked list or linked list videos in this playlist, you guys can make the relation. So this list is already a pre-written STL code which acts like a doubly linked list. So these are the two things that we're going to use. And then there is one more entity called iterators, which are nothing but similar to pointers that point at the memory addresses of these STL containers. So iterators, if you have a for loop, and when you are running through the for loop and when you want to access an element in the array, how do you say that? You say for int I equals to 0, and then there is some condition, and then you will say ARR of I. So this I is nothing but an integer type element which is used to iterate through this array. Similarly, we have iterators which are specially used to iterate through the STL objects. Okay, so the elements that you create from the STL container type, whichever objects that are provided. For example, we have vectors or we have lists. If you want to go through them one by one, these iterators can be used, and we're going to use them. So right now you just need to understand that. Okay, so these are the three things that you have to just keep in mind. This is just the theory, and we're going to use them. And the way we are going to use them, I'll show you in a second, because now I'll show you the logical view of our graph data structure in the memory. Okay, and then you'll get an understanding of why we need a vector and why we need a list. Let me talk more about our today's video sponsor, Creo. Unlike usual courses, at Creo, you will learn full stack or backend development by building internship-like projects in real developer environment. This means you will be assigned multiple projects and modules, and you will have to build and complete them. At the end of these programs, you'll have multiple projects, new development skills, a fantastic GitHub profile, and also the confidence to face top tech company interviews with ease. Along with their full stack and backend courses, Creo also has their flagship fellowship program in software development, where you get the best of both full stack and backend curriculum, along with mentorship, live sessions, workshops, and referral to dev roles and guaranteed placements. Throughout these programs, you'll get guidance and mentor assistance along with personalized career guidance to land your dream job in software development. Use the link in the description below to get a 10% additional scholarship to their signature programs and unlock free resources. I'm sure this will add a lot of value in your knowledge and learning experience. Check out their website, that is creo.do, link in the video description. I highly recommend this. Okay, so on the right hand side now, you can see that we have an element called graph object, and there is this dotted line, gray dotted line, which is a complete single object. Inside that, we have multiple rows, right? So let me just mark them. This is row number 1, or let me start with row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4. Okay, don't get intimidated. We'll go one by one and you'll understand everything. So this is how a graph will look like in our computer memory. So this is the visual representation, but when we write the practical code, when we implement it in the computer memory, this is how it will be arranged in our scenario. Okay, so what is this entire structure? So the outer dotted line is actually the graph object. So inside this, each one single row is for a particular vertex. Okay, so graph object of 0, graph object of 1, graph object of 2. So what is this? This entire listing inside the graph object itself is a vector. Okay, so in the graph object, we will have a vector of type vertex, and let's name it vertices. Okay, so this is going to be our graph object. Let me just show it to you over here. Just keep this visual representation in mind. You can take a screenshot. Okay, so 3 classes are going to be created in the coding perspective in the implementation side. 1, which is the edge class, 2, which is the vertex class, and 3, which is the graph class. I'll talk about it in a second. But in the graph class, that is when you create the object of graph class, the only one data member it will have is, it will have a vector. As I said, it is a vector of class vertex. What is this class vertex? This class is our own class. which we will talk about in a second, and one object called vertices. So this vertices is nothing but a dynamic array, right? Vector, we just talked about a vector. A vector is nothing but a dynamic array. So this vertices is a dynamic array which can increase and decrease in size depending upon the number of vertices that we add. So at index position 0, we have the first vertex. So what is this vertex? So this entire pink container is our vertex class. Inside this vertex class, what do we have? We have a state ID, right? So as I mentioned, remember, every state will have a unique state ID. It will have a state name. So let's say Maharashtra, Goa, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, so on and so forth. And it will also have its own list of edges. So 3 data members in the vertex class. Now come back to this container over here. You can see the first one is the ID. So it's the state ID. So the next data member is MH, which is nothing but the short form of Maharashtra. So that's the state name. The third thing is a list. So this is where the second STL container is used, list. We already used vector, right? Vector is nothing but a dynamic array. Don't get confused. So this whole thing is basically a vector, that is an array, which is going to be increasing and decreasing depending upon the number of vertex that you add. Coming to the second STL, that is the list, which is there inside a particular vertex object. So this green thing is nothing but an edge list. So what is this edge list? So edge list is nothing but a list. What is a list? A list is something like a doubly linked list, correct? But what type of data it is storing? It is storing the type of edge. Now this angular brackets, remember, I hope you've seen the video of templates. I have a separate video in C++ playlist on templates. These are nothing but templates. And this is the type of list. When I say type, it means it will store edge objects. So edge is again our user defined class. So let's come to what is the edge. So edge class is nothing but having 2 data members. It will have the ID of destination vertex and it will have the weight. So if you see the yellow object or yellow container, this is basically a edge object. So edge object has the ID of the destination vertex. So 2 is the ID of Delhi. So DL stands for Delhi. So 2 is there in the edge list of Maharashtra object, right? In the first vertex object, which is at index position 0, in this vertices named vector. So first is for Maharashtra. So Maharashtra is connected to Delhi because Delhi's state ID 2 is over there in its edge list, and we also have the weight, which means from Maharashtra to Delhi, we have 1300 kilometers. Similarly, we have one more element as the edge object in this edge list, which is 3. 3 is the ID of GA, which is for Goa. So Maharashtra and Goa is also connected and the distance is 700. Okay. So similarly, if you see the next vertex, that is the next element in the vertices array. Let's call it array, or you can call it dynamic array if vectors are confusing. But we should call it vector because you should get the hang of it. So in the vertices vector, the second element is a vertex object which is storing the data for Delhi. Right? The ID of Delhi, the state ID of Delhi, the state name DL, and the edge list for Delhi. The edge list is nothing but a list of edges from Delhi to the different states that it is connected. So we just said that Maharashtra is connected to Delhi, which means that Delhi is also connected to Maharashtra because remember, this is an undirected graph. So if there is a route, that is if there is an edge between Maharashtra and Delhi, there is also an edge between Delhi and Maharashtra. So you can see Maharashtra's ID 1 is there in the edge list of Delhi, the first edge object, and also the weight, which is also similar to 1300 because of course, if distance between Maharashtra to Delhi via a particular road is 1300, the distance between Delhi to Maharashtra via the same road is also going to be 1300, right? So makes sense. So this is the first edge object in the edge list. So the green container is actually the edge list. The yellow container is actually one edge object. So every edge object represents one edge. So Delhi has 3 edges. One is between Maharashtra and Delhi. One is between Delhi and 3, which is Goa. And one is between Delhi and 4. 4 is UP. UP is Uttar Pradesh. Okay. So this, my friends, is the entire graph structure that we will be coding, and this is how it would be looking logically and practically when you actually write the program. Okay, so if it's still a little confusing, what you guys can do is you can pause this screen or take a screenshot and go through these individual classes, because these are the classes that we're going to create. I've also represented them, how they look like, and then you can check out this graph object. I've also shown what is what. So the pink container is a vertex object, the green container is the edge list of that particular vertex object, and the yellow container is actually a particular edge, correct? And they are all stacked up. So in case if there is one more state which is being added, let's say Madhya Pradesh is added, so there would be one more entry over here below, and then it will have all these elements which are similar like this. Okay, because this is a vector object, that is vertices is a vector, the number of vertex objects, that is this pink containers, can increase and decrease, because we will be adding a particular vertex and we will also delete a particular vertex, right? So depending upon the operation, because we want a dynamic feature, that is the reason why we are using this vector class. And we are using this list class to store the edge list for a particular vertex. Okay, so I hope the structure is pretty clear to you guys of how we are going to approach our graph implementation. As I mentioned, please take a screenshot of this. Let me just clear out everything else. You guys can take a screenshot, but if you're still having a little bit of confusion, as we progress and as we start implementing individual operations, that is these operations, add vertex, update vertex, etc., etc., I will also show you diagrammatically what is happening behind the scenes, step by step, like what we've done in previous tutorials. So don't worry, everything will be more clear. But now, with this basic understanding, let's jump to the C++ IDE and let's start with a little bit of coding and at least create the structure and these edge classes, vertex classes, graph classes, which we will ultimately be using to perform the operations. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, I have opened up my Dev C++ IDE. This is the IDE that I've been using to write C++ programs. You guys can use any other IDEs. In fact, you guys can use other programming languages also, but do keep in mind that the syntax and many things keep on changing between multiple languages. So if you are well versed in C++, you are good to go. And this is how the basic structure of C++ program looks like. So I've already typed in some things. You guys can pause this video and open up Dev C++ IDE and type along. I highly recommend guys that you at least type the code at least once, especially if you're a beginner. Please don't just copy paste it. I will obviously be sharing the entire code of graph data structure, the implementation and all the operations. You can see the link in the video description. If it is not there, then it will be there once we cover few more operations. But yeah, coming to the code. The first thing is at the top where you have included the IOStream header file. This is where we need to include few more header files because we are going to use the STL library. So the first thing that we need is vector, then we need list, and then we need iterator. These are the three things that we are going to need. So we need to include those respective header files. Okay. So once that is done, now you can go ahead and use them. So we are going to create three classes, right? So let's start off with creating the first class. We'll say class edge, right? This is the first class. On the right hand side, I'll put up the data members that we are needed to code inside this edge class. The two data members are destination vertex ID and weight. Both of them are of type integer. We'll keep it simple. Now do note that I'm using the public as access specifier or access modifier just for the sake of ease, okay? When you are using object-oriented programming, generally the data members are inside the private class or the private access modifier, and the methods, that is the member functions, are in the public access modifier, right? But just for the sake of ease and use and direct access of these individual data members, when we create an object, we are keeping them in the public category. So we will be directly able to use them without the getter and setter method in case if we need them, okay? So yeah, this is the data members in the edge class. Let's create the basics, that is the getter and setter method as well as the constructors. So a default constructor as well as a parameterized constructor I've created. I am copy pasting a code because I don't want to waste your time by typing everything. but you guys can pause it and at least type it once. Then moving on, we need to also create some getter and setter methods. I hope you know what is a getter and setter methods. Basically, getter method will return a particular data member and setter will actually set the value. So when you create an object, let's say edge e1 in the main function, you can say, let me just show it to you. If you create edge e1, you can say e1 dot set values. So set values will set the values of destination vertex and weight for this object. Similarly, we will have even dot get values, and as the name suggests, they will return the particular values, right? So you can say get destination vertex ID, you can say get weight, and you can only return one particular data member in individual function. So these are the functions, that is set value and get value, that you have to code over here. Okay. So you can see I have said set edge values and we are passing destination VID and in W. So dest VID is going to be stored in destination vertex ID. This is the data member, and W will be assigned to weight. So this is the setting of these two data members. Similarly, we have created a separate method to set the weight, because when you want to modify a particular edge, remember that we are only modifying the weight, that is the distance between two multiple states, right? So in that case, we will use this function, that is this member method, that is set weight. And the two different get functions are get destination vertex ID, it will return the destination vertex ID, and get weight is nothing but returning the weight. Okay. So pretty much the edge class is completely ready. Let's move on to the next class, which is class vertex. Okay. So what are the data members inside vertex? We have state ID, state name, and remember we have an edge list which is of a list type, and it will store edge objects, right? So edge class we just created over here at the top, right? So the objects of this edge class that we create will be stored in this edge list. So remember that ping box, the ping container which was representing a one particular vertex object, it will have state ID, state name, and its own edge list, which means that whichever edges that particular state is connected, it will have that details in the form of a edge object, and an edge object will have destination ID as well as the weight. Correct? Okay. Again, we have default constructor as well as parameterized constructor. Then moving on, we will have certain methods inside the vertex class also, which will be the basic getter and setter methods. So let me paste them. We have get state ID, we have get state name, we also have set ID, which is basically setting the state ID, we also have set state name, and we have the getting of edge list. We are not setting the edge list over here because when we add an edge, we are not adding all the edges together, right? Between two vertexes, we will create a particular edge at a time, right? So let's say we have 10 states. So you'll not create all the edges in one go, right? So you'll create one edge between two states one at a time. So that's why right now the set edge list is not being created over here. And if you don't understand, don't worry. You'll get it as we move along, because we're not going to need that function. So there are more functions inside the vertex class, but right now these are the basics ones that we need. So we are just creating the overall structure. The actual operations and the functions related to the operations we will create later on, one operation at a time. Okay. So two main classes are created. The last class is the actual graph class. So let's create that. So we have class graph. Now inside this we only have one data member which is of type vector, and it will store individual objects of type vertex, right? So this vertices object is nothing but an array, but it is a dynamic array. That's why it is called a vector. And what is it storing? It is not storing individual integers. It is not storing strings. It is storing objects of type vertex. Now this is where, okay, this has to be in the public category. And after this, inside this graph class is where we will type all the functions, because these are graph functions, right? So they should be going inside the graph class. So addition of a particular vertex, addition of a particular edge, deletion, updation, printing of graph, all these things we will do over here. So all functions related to graph, that is all graph operations, will be coded here. Okay. Alright. So these are the three classes, at least the structure is being created. You can save this. You can go to compile and run and see if things are working. And you can see we are getting processing. And you can see our program is running perfectly fine. Right now it is not doing anything because we've not really coded anything. But so far so good, which means everything is working fine. Now in the main function, as I said, we want our program to be dynamic and we want the user to be able to do all these different operations of addition, deletion, updation of vertex, addition, deletion and updation of edges and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of code. So we will create a menu driven program. Now if you are someone who's followed the DSA playlist, we've created menu driven programs earlier using the do while loop. So I'm just going to paste the entire do while loop and we'll go step by step. So in the main function, currently we have nothing, but over here I'm going to paste a do while loop. So it's a big do while loop because there are many operations, which means there are many cases. So if we have 10 operations, we will have 10 use cases, right? So this is the do while loop. The first thing that it prints is what operation do you want to perform? Select the option number, right? And I hope you know what is a do while loop. Do while loop is a exit controlled looping control statement, which means that it runs at least one time and then the condition is checked. So in the do while loop, we are asking the user to enter a particular number for a particular operation. So if the user enters 1, we will perform add vertex operation. If the user enters 2, we will do update and so on and so forth. So if the user enters 0, that is when, if you come down in the condition, if the option is not equal to 0, this will keep on executing. But once the option becomes 0, this do while loop will exit or it will stop functioning. Now inside the do while loop, we will take the option number from the user. So we will have to create this int option variable somewhere. So let's create that. So we'll say int option, right? So this is something that we'll take from the user. I hope you know how to take input and output in C++, very basic. We'll take cin, we'll take the option from the user. Now that option we will pass in the switch case. Again, switch case is a basic control statement. I hope you know that. So depending upon the option number, we will perform particular cases. So case 0 is nothing but simply breaking out of the switch case and breaking out of this entire do while loop, right? Because 0 is for exiting the program. But if the user enters 1, it will be add vertex operation. If user enters 2, it will be update vertex operation and so on and so forth. So I have already pre-written all the cases because I don't want to type all this and this will just waste your time. So this is just the structure, right? This is just the boilerplate. What happens inside every case, that is something that we have to do in the coding part in the function creation. Right now we are just creating the structure. So again, saving this, let's go to execute, compile and run. Hope everything works. And there you go guys, you can see our menu driven program is running. If I hit option number 1 and hit enter, you can see add vertex operation and then again the menu is popped up. So till I enter 0, this menu will keep on coming and you can perform all these individual operations over and over again. Right now nothing is happening because as I mentioned, we still have to type the code. But our basic structure of the entire program is ready. Our understanding and our approach of how we are going to write the code for graph data structure is also very clear. And now the only thing left out is to start implementing each function one operation at a time. So this is where I'll conclude this video, because then if we start with the coding of individual operations, this video will never end. It will go very lengthy. So I hope you've understood everything so far with the implementation of graph data structure, what we are going to implement, our approach, the different operations, the visual representation as well as the logical representation, the different STLs that we are going to use. And as we move along in the further videos also, things will get more and more clear because we will visually also show step by step what is happening in individual functions, and then everything will be much more clear. Okay, I hope so far everything is clear. If you have understood this video, if you like this video, if you have any queries, please put them in the comment section. Please like this video if you made it so far. Share this video with your friends, especially the ones who are struggling with graph data structure, the practical aspect, because this is absolutely important. You will find the code to this entire graph implementation. That is the link in the video description to this entire code. Go ahead and check it out. And that's it from my side for this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.